Okay, I think we're live. So welcome everybody. I hope the webinar works. We don't have any technical problems. In case you cannot hear me, please do send me a message on Facebook, but I believe this does work. So with that being said, first things off, thank you very much for taking the time tonight to be on the call. I'm gonna try to keep this short and concrete. You know my style. I don't like to keep things too long. I like to get straight to the point. So yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to be here, and let's get to it. So the topic for tonight is how to, present the opportunity in a story mode. How to tell your story, including the Xango opportunity in there, in an efficient, professional, logical, truthful, and attractive way. For your prospect, for your friend, for your future customer. It doesn't matter. For any person, this is a way that adapts. Because as you guys know, people, they don't really like to listen to facts for an hour. What they want is a story, something that's interesting, something they can relate to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you guys a couple steps that you can implement in order to be able to explain everything in a very short period of time, between 5 to 10 minutes, in order to get the person's attention, and then you'll go into more detail. You'll see that throughout this, let's say, explanation, this presentation, you're not going to talk too much about the products. You're barely even going to mention the name of the company. You're going to be telling people what you were told, where you were at that time, why you thought what you thought, why you actually got started, and what this did for you. And once that person hears a story where you mention all of those things, they're going to be attracted into hearing a little bit more about it. And that's when you'll get into details about the company, the product, the mangosteen, all those kind of things. But at first, in your first time somebody hears about this, when they ask you what do you do, or how did you start this, or why do you do this, these are the things you want to tell them. Okay, so the whole point behind this is to be able to explain the opportunity in a simple way, in a short way, so that people are not bored, but people are attracted to it. Okay, so the first tip before I get into anything is you need to be natural. Remember, the reason why you need to be natural is simple. It's because it's your own story. Okay, so when you're telling a story, you're not making anything up. Number one, it's true. It's exactly what's happened to you. It's as if you're in an interview and somebody asks you, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where were you born? Where do you come from? Where have you lived? What school do you go to? What do you study? Things like this. You're telling your own story, so you don't get nervous. You're not lying. You're very honest with people, right? And this is exactly what you want when presenting people with your business opportunity, because when people see that you're true, you're telling the truth, that you're being honest, that it's natural, and that you're not trying to sell them or pitch them anything, they're going to be so much more open to hearing more about it. And you're going to get people actually asking you questions instead of you being the one throwing information at them, And when you can get to that point, you'll see a big difference of results. So for me, I'm going to kind of go over the different steps that you need to go over in your story. And I'll be doing that at the same time as I tell you my story. So you can see in my script, if you ever seen me present or close an event, I never talk for more than 10 minutes, maximum 15 if a couple things have not been covered before. But generally, my closings at an event, I speak between 5 to 10 minutes. And what I do is a recap of everything by telling my story, So number one thing before you get into your story is understanding what are the things or the objections that people generally have in this business. And you guys might have heard this before. There's 4 main objections that people have. Okay, there's 4 reasons why somebody would not do this business, and it's your job to implement those 4 reasons within your presentation. Your goal is to overcome a person's objection before they bring it up to you. If somebody tells you they're not going to do the business before because of whatever reason, if you haven't covered that reason, and it'll be one of these 4 objections, before they mention it to you, it means you have done a bad job. It means your presentation, your story does not cover indirectly the objections people have. Because when you cover an objection indirectly in advance, people ask themselves, okay, they might be thinking, yeah, this is great, but I maybe don't have the money to start this. But if you overcome that objection before they actually get to say that, I'll be like, oh, actually, that's not a problem. What's the next problem? So people start thinking about it. So 4 objections. Number one, people either they don't believe the business, lack of belief. People don't understand it. They don't understand the business. You were not clear enough in your presentation about what is network marketing, how does the opportunity work. Number three, people don't have the time. That's something very common. I don't have time, have to go to school, have that job, have this, that. People just look for an excuse. It means you didn't make the opportunity valuable enough for them to spend their time in this instead of something else, okay? And number four is people say they don't have the money, okay? Those are the four main objections: lack of belief, lack of understanding, lack of time, and lack of money, okay? So write that down. And I'm gonna tell you guys in your presentation, there's 5 steps that you need to follow, 5 things that you need to implement, in your story. Remember, the big difference between this and a presentation you would host, in a hotel room or something like this, is that this is a story. This is not a presentation. You're not using a PowerPoint. This is because when you're able to do this, you can be at a cafe with someone, even if you don't have your phone or you don't have the flip book or anything like this. You can get people's attention by following this this process. So 5 steps, and this is what you should tell in your story. Number 1 is where you were when you first heard about this concept. At what point in your life were you? For me, it's simple. I was a student and I was looking for a way to make some part-time money. That's what I say, okay? That's where I was. I was at the end of my first year at university. I had passed all my exams and I was looking for a way to make some part-time money, just like most students. And what I tell people is, you can, if it's a student, you can probably relate to that. If not, you probably have some friends that can relate to that, So people understand where you were. So that's something that allows people to relate, whether they're a student or not, it doesn't matter. But they see, okay, this guy that was at that point in his life. Number 2 is, how did you hear about this? What I tell people is, I was at a point in my life, I was at the end of my first year of university, I was looking for a way to make some part-time money. Problem was that I didn't have much time. What did I do? Just before I even talked about anything, I overcame objection number 1, the time. And I told them I was looking for a way to make some part-time money, but I did not have time. And why? Because my university for me was always the most important thing. Had a lot of hours of class, and although I did consider a part-time job, my schedules at university were very flexible. They changed every single week. So for an employer, it's not very attractive to employ someone that you don't know they're going to be able to work for you up until 24 hours in advance. So that's what I say. That's what my situation where I was, and I tell people is I did not have time. So how did I hear about this opportunity? Point number 2, how did I hear about this? I was at uni, and I saw a friend with a drink that I had never seen before. And what did I do? Same thing that you'd probably do if you see your friend tomorrow with a pink Coca-Cola or a yellow Coca-Cola. You're used to it being red, so you're going to ask them, what is that? Can I try it? Where did you buy it? So that's exactly what I did. I was not pitched anything. I was not invited to a presentation, anything like that. I asked my friend, I saw him with a drink I had never seen before, and I asked him, what is that? So how do you hear about it? That way. That's my story. I was a student looking for a way to make some part-time money, did not have time, so part-time job did not work for me, and I saw a friend of mine with a drink I had never seen before. My story is nothing, not even original, nothing special, normal thing most of us have done multiple times throughout our life, okay? Now what happened is I tried the drink, I loved it, and I asked my friend, where can I buy it? So people are realizing you're not trying to pitch them anything because you, at that time, were asking, where could you buy it? So it was you going towards a person, not anybody coming towards you to sell your product or anything like that. You see the psychology behind that. You're just turning the situation around, okay? So I asked him, where can I buy it? And my friend told me that you can buy it through the internet. Don't sell it in stores or anything like that, but he had some friends at university back in the US, that were working with this company next to their studies and were making some money, and for me, that's exactly what I was looking for. So how does my story relate to that? Is I had a problem, I was at this point in my life and I was looking for a solution. And my friend, when I asked him about the drink, he told me he had some friends in the US that had something like that. So what did I ask him? I asked him, can you put me in contact with your friends? And that's what he did, okay? And this is what takes us to point number 3, is what you have to cover in your story is what did the person that exposed you to this opportunity tell you? Okay, because by doing this, okay, you're not the one telling your friend or your prospect the story of the company, the story of the industry. You're telling him the story of someone who told you. And this is there's whole psychology behind this. It's not you selling anything to somebody. It's somebody that was talking to you and you're just selling a story. So the whole idea of you trying to sell anything on anybody that you're talking to right now is completely gone. Okay, I don't know if you guys get that, but if you try this out, and I encourage you to try telling your story in a way like this, you'll see that people are so much more open and nobody's ever going to tell you, oh, you're trying to sell me this opportunity or anything like that. Absolutely not. It will be completely gone. okay? Simply because of the fact that it's not you telling your friends, dude, listen to about this industry. It's, dude, my friend told me this about this industry and he told it to me this way. You know, they told me this story and this is what I thought. So it's a complete different psychology behind everything. So point number 3, what did they tell you? And right now, in this point, we're going to overcome 2 objections. Number 1, lack of belief, and lack of understanding. Okay, because so far we only overcame the objection number 1, which is the lack of time. You know, we said we didn't have time at the beginning of the presentation. So right now, what we're going to overcome is lack of belief and lack of understanding. How are we going to do that? Is by bringing credibility into the presentation. Okay, bringing credibility into what we're going to say, and bringing simplicity. You know, we're gonna explain network marketing in a very simple way. And so this is what I tell people. I say, so my friend put me in contact with his buddies back in the US, and what they told me is the following thing. Alberto, okay, always say your name before, because that psychology behind things automatically puts it away from your prospect, and it takes all the pressure out of the conversation. Okay, what they told me is the following thing. They told me, Alberto, when you look at Forbes.com, Forbes magazine, okay, stop right there. What did we just do? Forbes.com, Forbes magazine. What is that? That's credibility. Every single person in this world that has some tiny bit of information background, business background, knows what Forbes.com, Forbes.org is. Okay, so what we did right there? We brought credibility. Okay, so he told me, Alberto, when you look at Forbes.com, Forbes magazine, you know, all these types of websites, newspapers, things like this. You know, you look at the top 500 companies around the world, top 500 millionaires and billionaires. You know, the Donald Trumps, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs, the Mark Zuckerbergs, all these types of people. What are you doing right now? You're bringing credibility to your presentation. You know, you're making people feel comfortable with things and people they know who are credible. Okay. And this doesn't matter if you're not making any money, if you're new to the industry, it doesn't matter. You're just bringing credibility into the presentation, okay, with these kind of words, these kind of companies, these kind of names. And they told me the following things. What do all these people have in common? You know, they all own their own business, you know, or they either own stocks in a multinational company or both of those things, you know. So while you're talking about multinational companies, and you're talking about owning your own business, you know, bringing more credibility into the conversation. And you're sounding like somebody who knows what they're talking about. Okay, when you use these business words, which I personally don't think make you be smart, but most people, you know, it makes you sound smart for some reason. That's the world we live in. So use them. Okay, take advantage of that. So after that, what I tell them is, and they explain to me, you know, what are the chances, you know, of us being the next Bill Gates or, you know, Steve Jobs, or having that next iPhone or Facebook idea. You know, chances are pretty small, you know. And even if you do have that next Facebook or iPhone idea, you probably don't have the capital or the money or the experience or the network, you know, to bring that to life, unfortunately. However, what I asked, my friends in the US told me at the time was that what's the second best option that we have out there, you know? And it's simple. It's an industry called network marketing, you know. And here's when we explain it in a simple, precise, and credible way, you know. Number one, what do? We say what network marketing is, you know, how big the industry is. And this is what I tell people, is like, probably you might have never heard about before. For me, it was something completely new. And what really shocked me was the fact that this industry generated over $160 billion in sales every single year. And what shocked me about that was the fact that it's bigger than the Hollywood industry and the music industry. You know, things that we use every single day, just on our phones, iTunes, things like this. It's something we do every single day. So what did we do just there? Bring credibility about the industry. Okay, people are never going to say something that big, something bigger than Hollywood, bigger than the music industry is nothing credible. Okay, so you're keeping credibility into your presentation. Then step after that is, obviously, you know, network marketing is that. And what they explained to me about the concept of how network marketing works is the following thing. When you look at a company, what's a company? You know, a company is an institution that has a product or a service. Okay, that's it. You're bringing simplicity to the idea. A company is an institution with a product or a service. You know, it can be a bottle, it can be a computer, it can be a phone, it doesn't matter. Okay, you know, we see all these huge buildings in London, in New York, in Hong Kong. You know, you see the KPMGs, the Barclays, the HSBC, Citibank, all these huge banks with 50 stores. A company is so much simpler than that. So what did we do just there with that sentence is we brought credibility with big names of companies into the conversation, and we brought simplicity by showing that a company and owning your business is something so much simpler. And then when you understand what a company is, they have a product or a service. And what do those companies do to make money? They need to move that product or service through a network of people. Okay, and how do they move that product or service through a network of people? They spend money on advertising, on marketing, and so on and so on. They pay Cristiano Ronaldo, they pay Messi to wear their shoes, wear their t-shirts, drink their drinks, things like this, right? However, I think we can all agree that traditional advertising nowadays doesn't work that well. We see an average of 1,000 advertisements a day, and this is a question I ask my friends generally or the person I'm presenting this to, is can you remember the last 5 advertisements you've seen? Most people can't. And if anybody tries to be a smartass with you and tells you that they do, ask them whether they actually bought anything from those 5 last advertisements they supposedly remember that they've seen. The answer is every single time is no. Okay, and if they even decide to answer yes, ask them to ask that question to a couple of people around them. You'll see the answer still is no. Okay, so that just shows to the person directly what you did right there is show that traditional advertisement does not work that well. And I always use the example, when you go on YouTube, what do you have? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, skip. You skip the ad. We don't even realize that we skipped an ad that cost more than $1 million to be right there in front of our face. Okay, so traditional advertisement doesn't work. It's not even advertisement, it's spam nowadays. However, what my friends explained to me at the time was when you look at individual people like us, us as consumers, what do we have? We do not have a product, we do not have a service, but we do have a network. On average, people have between 400 to 500 friends on Facebook. Some of us have more than that. And what do we have over our lives? We've met people who know people who know people who know people. Okay, so we have a network. So network marketing is a win-win situation between the company who has a product but does not have a network and the individual person who has a network but does not have a product. So it's a win-win situation. You put those two together. That's network marketing. How does it work? So the company, instead of spending money on advertising, marketing, things like this, they take that money, they don't sell their products in stores, and they pay their customers for doing something we do every single day. When you go to the cinema, what do? You watch the new Star Wars, you like it, you're going to do what? You're going to recommend it to a couple friends. Do you get paid for that? No. When you listen to a new song, you like it, you share on Facebook, do you get paid for that? No, you don't. When you use Skype or Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, which we use every single day, which we've recommended to hundreds of people ourselves directly and thousands indirectly, have you ever gotten paid for that or ever saw an advertisement on TV about that? No, you haven't. Okay, so network marketing is taking advantage of a business model which we're already applying indirectly but never getting paid for that. That's what I tell people. So what did we do right there? We explained what a company was. We explained what us as consumers can bring to that company and what that company can bring to us, and realized the following thing, that it's something that we do every single day. This is a sentence that I use, and you guys can write this down. I'll say it slowly. And this is a sentence that I tell everybody. I tell them, and this is step number 4, by the way. Step number 4 is, what did I think about what I was being explained and why this sounded interesting to me? This is what we're getting to right now in the presentation, okay? And so obviously, I don't talk about the company. I'm going to talk a little bit about the company or the products within your story. It would be at this point. You would tell them, so what they told me is that they started working with this company, called Zango, right? Zango is a health and wellness company, blah, 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 mangosteen, blah, 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 all that story. Here's the trick. It's with your story, you can sometimes I don't even mention the name of the company or the product, and people at the end, they ask me, okay, I understand this. Now, can I just know a little bit more about the company because I'd like to order the product? And I have not said the name or said anything because the story makes sense. They realize, like, I do this every single day. So what do? I go to step number 4, and it's what did I think and why did I actually like this and why did I see potential in this? And it's because of the following idea. I tell people is when you look at Amazon, what's Amazon? It's a company that brings products directly from themselves to the consumer. You're right. What's Facebook? It's something that I told my friends about and never got paid for it. So what is network marketing? It's like a little soup between those two things, but with a physical product in the middle. And what I tell people is if you can find a company that applies this model with a product that you consume and that people around you are attracted by, you have a business opportunity, right? And so for me, it made a lot of sense because I realized that it's 1 or 2, and here's a sentence, 1 or 2 euros that I spend every single day, okay, on products I already consume, which are tastier and healthier. And by doing something I already do every single day, which is talking to my friends, which I'll do whether I get paid for it or not, I'll have what? I'll have number 1, the possibility to develop myself as a person, increase my network, own my own business, put this on my CV, and this is my personal credibility that I add onto this. Again, this is your own story. You need to put in your own little ingredient. But I tell them, I put this on my CV. Right now I'm doing an internship in investment banking in London, where 80% of the interview was asking me, what is it that you do with this network marketing company? So that brings a lot of credibility to the presentation as well. Nobody's going to tell you this is not useful, especially if they're a student. What do students want? They want to add stuff on their CV. You know, when they get in the student association, this and that, get drunk every single night, that's what they end up doing in a student association. But when you have something like this, that number one helps you develop your network, your skills, helps you on your CV, okay? And you can build a part-time or full-time income, depends on how you build this business. Next to it, as a student, without taking time, because we already said it's something we already do, right? So we overcame the objection of time already. We overcame the objection of belief about the industry, about the company, about the concept, and we overcame the objection of I don't understand it, because we explained it in a very simple way, right? And after this is the only last thing I say. I tell them. So I realized that, and my question was not really why should I do this. My question was, why shouldn't I? And I couldn't really find an answer, you know, simply because it made a lot of sense. I thought about it, I was like, nobody's ever going to tell me, I wish I was sick today, or I wish I made less money than I'm making, you know, and I think every person you're going to talk to is going to agree with you on that. So I saw this opportunity as a way to solve either one of those two things, or actually even help me with both. So when you tell people the story that way, you know, when you tell them where you were at the point, number one, where were you before when you heard about this, you know, how you heard about it, what you were told, what you thought, and then we get to step number 5, which is what has this done for you? So that the person can relate and see on a longer term is, okay, he's done all that, he understood it, he liked it, but that's great, but has it done anything beneficial for him? And that's when you add what this has done for you. You know, you can talk either about the income you've made, about the experiences that you've had, about the traveling you've done, about the seminars you've been to, about the people that you've met, about the health benefits customers might have had. It doesn't really matter how it's helped you on your CV, whatever. And that's what you add at the end of your presentation. That's it. And if you look at this webinar, I have no idea how long this has been. I can't really see. Lesson in this 25 minutes, and I've been explaining and stopping on every single point. So if you just tell your story in this way, you're saying this in less than 10 minutes. And what are you doing? You're overcoming the 4 different skepticism or objections people will have when you don't present or overcome such objections within your presentation. You know, so if you're able to say that and develop a story, and my advice for you is write down yourself a script. It doesn't have to be word by word, and listen to yourself, record yourself while explaining, while telling your story, you know, and listen to yourself and ask yourself the question, if I heard this story, what would I think? Would it sound credible? And would I be more attracted to hearing more about this? If the answer to those 3 questions is yes, your story is good. If there's a no in one of those 3 answers, what you should do is either get up with one of your uplines or your enroller or somebody and send them that recording, ask them to listen to it, and they'll give you some feedback on it, on how to improve that. Because also, not only is it your story, sometimes it's also your tonality, how natural you are about explaining the concept, and also whether people can follow you. Because here's the thing, is that when somebody says one of these, for, you know, at the end of your presentation, somebody tells you, yeah, I love this, but I really don't have time for this. That means you did not overcome the objection of time. And if somebody gives you an objection after your presentation, it means you did a bad job. Okay, because these are 4 objections. You should somehow include them in your script. And the script we just went over right now, my story is not perfect. Okay, everybody has their own way of explaining this. You know, Bas has a different way, Kenny has a different way, Joseph has a different way, Dardan has a different way, Mehdi has a different way, Maxime as well. Everybody has different ways of explaining that. Everybody has their own story. There's no story better than another one. What matters is that your story covers the 4 objections and follows the 5 steps. If you do that, your story will be good, and you will go from being dependent on your upline, you know, to bring credibility or explain this concept in a simple way, to being dependent, where you can be at a cafe, meet somebody new, and tell them your story without having to tell them all the blah blah about Mangosteen or anything like that, and being able to set a second exposure or even invite them to the event you guys are having in your region on that weekend. Okay, so if you guys can set that, that's great. And if you develop a story like this, you'll also be able to close events very easily. Okay, and what's very important is if you're applying this story in an event, It doesn't matter whether you're the person that's closing, is edification, okay? You guys need to make sure that also in your story, okay, you edify the people that talk to you about this, because eventually you're gonna put that prospect in contact with those people. So edifying them, because they probably, imagine I put one of my prospects in contact with Bass. He has no idea who Bass is. Or I put them in contact with Kenny. They have no idea who Kenny is, probably, right? So I need to edify them, to give them a reason to look up to them, give them a reason to listen to them, right? Because otherwise for them, it's just a random person on the street that you've never met before. But if I tell them this person has a network in 5 different countries or in 10 different countries around the world, one of the top income earners in Europe, obviously it's in their own interest, and they're going to see a benefit. They're going to see a benefit in hearing this person out. Okay, so remember, be natural, develop your story, go over the 4 objections: the lack of belief, lack of understanding, lack of time, lack of money, and go over the 5 steps throughout your story, where you were before, how you heard about this, what you were told, what you thought, and why you decided to get started, and number 5, what has this done for you? And last but not least, remember to edify every single time the person that's either going to be telling the story, or the person you're going to put them in contact with, or the person that's about to close your event and with their story. You know, every single event, in my opinion, should be closed with a story like this, because what you're doing right now, if I close an event, what I do is I barely talk about the company, I barely talk about the products, because somebody already did that. The only thing I do is I recap the whole idea. You know, and I tell people, my question was not why should I do this. My question was, why shouldn't I? And I couldn't really find an answer, because it's something I already did, products I already consumed, money I already spent, and except I was not getting paid for those kind of things. You know, so with that being said, guys, I hope this was useful. This is kind of the whole psychology behind it. Try to keep it a 5 to 10 minute presentation. Record yourself, listen to yourself multiple times. That's what I did. I still have my first recording when I first started. It took me around 2.5 years to, well, a little bit less, around 2 years to develop this sort of story sense and understand the whole psychology behind it, even myself. So with that being said, thank you for getting on tonight. If you found this was useful, I'll tell you the same thing as always. Post it on the Facebook groups so that the people that did not get on here will shoot themselves in the head or something like this for not listening to valuable information. Again, only if you thought this was useful. But with that being said, thank you very much for taking the time, and I will talk to you guys very soon and see you all in Brussels. If you do not have your tickets, get your tickets for the Brussels Regional today. Thank you.